Burying the deceased can be done in a variety of ways or techniques. In the Philippines, the casket is removed from the home and conveyed to the church for the funeral in or his. The customs are broadly comparable to those observed in other Catholic communities in North America. However, at this time, the issue is that there is only a limited amount of room accessible for interment. As a result, green funeral may be a viable approach. It is intended to have the least amount of damage to the environment and save natural resources. It is also known as a natural burial or eco-friendly burial, which promotes simplicity and sustainability. So what is a green funeral? As what I have said before, it is intended to have the least amount of damage to the environment and save natural resources. The body is not burnt, chemically treated, or buried in a concrete vault like a traditional green burial. It's simply buried in a biodegradable container and allowed to disintegrate and return to nature. A green funeral can have various qualities, but they all strive to reduce the environmental impact of end-of-life arrangements. Most of these burials forego embalming fluids, cement or metal coffin vaults, and garments produced from particular materials in favor of biodegradable and environmentally friendly materials in storage containers. Traditional embalming fluid is not used in natural burials. When alternative chemical-free embalming oils are required, they can be used instead. These essential oils break down in the soil without leaving any trace pollutants behind.
The green burial has a natural process of preparing a body for its funeral, meaning sending back a body to earth, dust to dust. When we say funeral, we often think of putting chemicals in a corpse body in order for it to be prepared for viewing. But green burial gives less impact in our environment. After a person's death, unlike traditional way, which corpses are being applied with chemicals like embalming fluids, it uses chemical-free embalming oils that may be used instead when needed. These essential oils degrade without leaving trace chemicals in the soil. After the body have been prepared, it will be then put into a container that will decompose naturally and become a part of the earth. There are different types of biodegradable burial container, such as the burial pods and green coffins and caskets. It is a myth that it is illegal to bury a body without burial vault because it is not a legal requirement. Burial site. When placing in a biodegradable casket or burial pods, it is then buried in a green burial site. Other countries have adapted and established burial sites such as hybrid cemeteries, natural burial grounds, and conservative burial grounds. Hybrid cemeteries is a conventional cemetery that offers the essential aspect of natural burial, either throughout the cemetery or in a designated section. Hybrid cemeteries can earn certification that does not require them to use vaults. This will allow you to use any eco-friendly biodegradable burial container such as a shroud or a softwood casket. The goal of a natural burial ground is to restore or preserve a natural landscape populated by native vegetation and wildlife. Many support sustainable management through land conservation efforts by avoiding fertilizers, pesticides, or herbicides to encourage native habitats. Conservation burial grounds takes environmental stewardship a step further, committing burial fees to pay for land acquisition, protection, restoration, and management. These tend to be expensive tracts of land, sometimes contiguous with an existing park, critical habitat area, wildlife refuge, or nature conservancy area. Traditional caskets are often made of materials that are slow to decompose, don't biodegrade at all, or are downright harmful to the environment. A green funeral generally calls for the use of a simple, biodegradable shroud or a casket made of wood or woven natural materials, which break down much more quickly and don't release potentially harmful chemicals into the soil or water supply. Thus, without the use of harmful chemicals and harmful materials, it gives a great effect to our environment.
So here are the advantages of green funerals. First is reduced costs. Green burials tend to be more affordable than a traditional burial or cremation because embalming isn't used, so the process is not as labor-intensive. Coffins made from eco-friendly materials are also more affordable than traditional solid. Furthermore, offering a green burial can be a great way to alleviate some of the financial burden for families while still allowing a full range of services to provide their loved one a proper send-off. Next advantage is reducing carbon footprint. Natural burials eliminate the wastefulness by providing biodegradable caskets made from alternative materials such as willow, cardboard, or pine instead. Green funerals use fewer natural resources and fossil fuels in comparison to a traditional burial or cremation, resulting in a smaller carbon footprint. Next is conserve metal and precious wood resources. Traditional coffins are often in metal, but sourcing these materials uses a lot of energy. Precious woods like mahogany and cherry are often used too, and it can take decades to replenish these resources. These furniture-quality wooden caskets do not fulfill green initiatives and are therefore considered to be resource-heavy. Natural burials, on the other hand, do sometimes use wooden caskets, but they are designed to be highly biodegradable.
The fourth one is conservation of natural habitats. Natural burial means someone is buried in a way that they naturally decompose and return to the earth. Hence, so natural habitats remains undisturbed and the land can be returned to its natural state. Flowers can be planted, forests can thrive, and the view for surrounding properties remains unobstructed. Many people take comfort knowing that their loved one is safely buried in a beautiful natural environment. What's more, the land that used for natural burials can remain natural and beautiful forever with a conservation easement. Next is a safer environment. The production of concrete and steel, their transportation to a burial site for vaults and caskets, the production of embalming fluid, and the process of cremation all contribute to noxious fumes and carbon dioxide, all of which are not only bad for the environment, but bad for people who live in proximity to areas of production. Thus, green funerals or burials really help in achieving a safer environment. Lastly is achieving peace of mind and sense of control over one's own body. By taking advantage of green funeral options, individuals and their families can find comfort in knowing their passing will not negatively impact our environment. Many people also take refuge in the fact that their green burial will allow them to become one with nature. Those who have lived well take pride knowing they have also died well. Green funeral options may offer solace to those who wish to minimize their environmental footprint in death as they did in life. Also, many see the natural burial movement as an extension of the natural birth movement. Both can be considered ways of being more in control of your body during a natural phase of life. Some people even believe that embalming is disrespectful to the human body and feel that a natural burial is more in keeping with their views. Overall, those advantages of having green funeral not just greatly impact ourselves, but also the community and our environment.
Although green funerals have many advantages, they also have some cons which may be considered by the market. So first, it does not consist embalming. This may sound good since the process of embalming involves a lot of toxic substances that is harmful to the environment, but since the green funeral does not consist embalming, burial should be made fairly quick, which may be against by the belief of the people, especially here in the Philippines, who are used to the traditional ways such as the vigil of death, where the body of the deceased stays at the home of the family for a number of days. Second is that there is no gravestones. Because of the natural theme of the green funeral, there will be no gravestones, which serves as a marker for the family visiting. The green funeral are marked only by the coordinates, wood pieces, rocks, and trees. Lastly, small-scale burial. Traditional burials offer more friends and family to assist in the planning process and memorial, compared to green burials, which are typically smaller scale burial. That's all for the cons. Thank you.
Green funerals in the Philippines. One of the most essential aspects people think when someone passes away is choosing how they will depart the earth. Two of the most frequent methods of choosing how to send off a person are the conventional burial and cremation. These have been used for generations, but they are far from being ecologically friendly. With the emergence of green funerals, people are given a method which is sustainable, as it is environmentally friendly and cost efficient. The Philippines has an 81% Catholic population, according to the Pew Research Center. As a result, majority of Filipinos believe in afterlife and adhere to Catholic burial rituals such as Catholic Mass with hymns and prayers. Conventionally, in the Philippines, on the day of the funeral, a hearse transports a casket to the church in a funeral procession. Then after the funeral service and Mass, it transports the casket to the cemetery for burial. Green funerals are technically illegal in the Philippines. However, they are not widely practiced due to lack of sustainable cemeteries to accommodate these innovations. While the death rate in the country are increasing, a shift from the conventional way of burial, which is more costly, to green funerals that is less expensive and is helpful to the environment is feasible. In the Philippine settings, there are few articles to be seen in regard to green funerals, which implies that information about it is not widespread. In a futuristic point of view, Philippines will be implementing green funerals after it has been introduced and established. Environmental advocates will presumably promote the way of burial, which will help in raising awareness. Also, the marginalized sector will preferably choose this way in the future based on two main considerations. First is affordability, and second, having a proper send-off that is environmentally beneficial. In the 21st century Philippines, where Filipinos are more welcoming of change, innovations like green funerals will surely be considered. The green burial trend will continue to be driven by environmental concern, but it also symbolizes a growing emotional yearning for humans to reconnect with nature, to be restored after death, placed in its enigmatic, endless cycling and recycling. The Philippine cemeteries might not be able to immediately accommodate the change that green funerals will cause. Nevertheless, architects and planners will look beyond the congested, divided cemetery as well as the traditional burial and cremation to totally rethink new public places that might change how we accommodate and commemorate the dead and make them more part of daily life.
And for what God has told Adam in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 19, "For you are dust, and to dust you shall return.